students. I'm Dr. Renu Sharma from PSPS Government PG College for Women Gandhinagar. And today we'll be dealing with a very important topic that is recently included in NEP, and that is called as modifications of route. So our topic will be modifications of route. But before we actually go to the modification of root, we should know what is root. What do you mean by root? The root is the descending portion of the plant which is non-green. It is positively geotrophic and negatively phototrophic. Okay. So the main function of the root, as you all know, is absorption of water, right? And then it gives encouragement to the plant. It anchors the plant firmly to the soil. Besides, what it does, it helps in the conduction of water and minerals. Okay, conduction of water and minerals. So these are the usual functions of the root which we have been studying since our childhood. Okay, so today we will be dealing first with the types of root and then their modification. Okay, so if we study the type of roots, we have got two main type of roots. Okay, there are two main types of roots. First is known as taproot system. Taproot system. Okay, and the other is known as adventitious root. Okay. So what is there in taproot system? The taproot system, which is mostly seen in case of dipod, here the root develops from the radical end of the embryo. Okay, and here the root that grows is it is the persistent one. It is the primary root. It gives rise to secondary roots, and then they give rise to further to tertiary and so on. So the whole system is called as tap root system. Okay. On the other hand, if the root is developing from any other part of the plant, from any other part of the plant other than radicle, okay, other than radicle, then it will be included in adventitious root system. The root may develop from the leaf part, from the root cuttings. It may develop from the node. It may develop from the internode, but not from the radicle. So it is called as adventitious root system. It is mostly seen in case of monocot. A third kind of root system, which is at times included in adventitious root system and at times it is separated from it, it is called as fibrous root system. Fibrous root system is mostly seen in grasses, especially in our very important economic crop, that is wheat and rice. Here what happens, that from the base of the stem, a group of bunch of, you say, roots arise from the base of the stem, and it firmly holds the plant, and moreover it helps in the conduction of water and minerals also. So this is the third kind, called as fibrous root system. It is seen in case of monocots only. I would like to add one more point here, that adventitious root system is found both in monocots as well as in dicots, though its frequency is certainly more in case of monocots. So this was the classification of roots in mainly two types. Now we will be dealing with modification of taproot. Okay. So, and then gradually we will be moving to the modification of adventitious root system. So, as I said, that the usual function of the root is, absorption of water and minerals, and it enters the plant only to the soil. But besides that, at times what happens that the root plays some additional functions also. So let us see the modifications of taproot first. The very first case of this will be when the taproot is modified for the purpose of storage. For the purpose of storage. Okay. So what happens at times, the root, it begins to, besides doing normal function, it begins to store a lot many reserve food material for the plant. Okay. In this category, the first type is conical root form. Conical root form, as the name is suggesting, here the root acquires the shape of a cone, as you find in case of carrot. Carrot, which is commonly, you say, botanically known as Docus carota. Here, this swollen portion is the root. This is the discoid stem, which is reduced, and it gives out radical leaves. Okay, so this is the conical root form, where the root is tapering, from it is broad at the peak and it narrows down as it goes downwards. Then comes your next, that is that the next is called as fusiform. What happens here? Here you see that the stem is from the apex also, and from the base, the stem, it narrows down, but it is, it gets flattened at the apex, or sorry, in the middle. So the middle portion is quite thick. Okay, and you can say the apex and the lower portion, it narrows down. The example is, radish. Okay, radish, botanically called as Raphanus sativus. Then third is your nepiform. So in nepiform, which is seen in case of turnip, here what happens that the root, it's swollen and it ends abruptly. The root is globular in shape and it ends abruptly, and the example is turnip. Okay, and the last one in case of the storage purpose is tuberous root. Okay. So what is there in tuberous root? In tuberous root is a kind of root wherein the root stores food. It is usually solitary and it can assume any shape, like this, or it can be like this, but it is solitary. It is seen in our 4 o'clock plants. 4 o'clock plants, and botanically it is known as Mirabilis jellipa. Okay. So these are the modifications of taproot for the purpose of storage. Then next we have got the category where the taproots are modified for the purpose of respiration, and the roots are called as respiratory roots. So these respiratory roots are also called as, another name is pneumatophores. Pneumatophores, these are the roots which we commonly seen in mangrove plants. What are mangrove plants? Mangrove plants are the plants which grew in swampy areas. You find them in Sundarban deltas, where the soil is having so much of saline condition. Okay, these plants are found in saline condition. So what happens in these plants? What happens that from the horizontal branches of the plant arise, negatively, you can say geotrophic roots. Otherwise, the roots are positively geotrophic. They arise from the horizontal, roots of the plant, and they arise above. Okay, and these are called as the respiratory roots, and on them are present small structures which are called as lenticels, whose function is to absorb oxygen because they are in saline environment. They do need oxygen. So that is why these are called as respiratory roots. Example of such root, as I say, is seen in mangrove plant. One of them is rhizophora. Okay, so this is the second category of the taproot modifications. Then third is very important. Roots are called as nodulated roots. Okay, so what are nodulated roots? Nodulated roots are the very important roots which are seen in the family Leguminosae or Papilionaceae. Okay, for example, in pea family, okay, we said pea family, Pisum sativum. So what happens here? Here the roots, they perform a very important function, that in these roots, the main root itself, or mainly the primary and the secondary root, what they, happen that in them, these solar structures are seen, which are called as nodules. Okay. In these solar structures, which are called nodules, you find millions of bacteria. Which bacteria? It is called as rhizobium. If you be talking singular, then it is rhizobium. Otherwise, we say there are millions of rhizobia, which we find in these kind of nodules. Okay, so this is called as your nodulated roots. Okay, so this is the and one very important thing is that these nodulated roots, they show the mutualistic relationship, or mutualism, wherein the bacteria is getting nourishment from the plant, and in turn what the bacteria does, the bacteria fixes nitrogen to organic compounds like nitrates. Okay, so these are the modifications of your taproot. Okay, now we will be dealing with modifications in case of adventitious. So, as in case of taproot, in case of adventitious roots also, it does so many functions. The first being modifications of, let me write, it is the modifications of adventitious roots. Okay. Here also, we will be dealing first. First category will be adventitious roots, which are modified for the purpose of storage. There also, the tap roots were modified for the purpose of storage. Here also, the roots are modified for the purpose of storage. So, the very first example here is again of tuberous root. We also saw tuberous root when we studied tap root. There, the modification, the tap root got modified to form tuberous root in case of Horoclock plant. Okay, but here tuberous root is seen in case of very important, plant, which is called as Ipomia batata. It is, it is locally called as shakargandhi, sweet potato. Here, what happens that the root, again, it can assume any shape. Okay, it can be like this, it can be like this. Okay, so but the thing is that the root is storing food, and it is also solitary. Okay, so this is tuberous root. Okay, then next is your fasciculated root. Okay, so what is there in fasciculated root? In fasciculated root, what you find that unlike tuberous root, which is grown solitary, fasciculated roots are generally found in bunches, and this is the suppose lower part of the stem. At the stem end, we have got these roots, these swollen root in bunches, and such bunch you find in case of our very common ornamental plant that is called as dahlia. In dahlia, we find such kind of fasciculated roots. In case of one more plant, asparagus, there also we find these, fasciculated roots, but here these roots are found intermittently. Okay, there are many in number, and these are found intermittently on the primary and the secondary roots. So these again are your fasciculated. Okay, so example is dahlia as well as asparagus. Okay, the next is third category you see is the palmate root. As the name is suggesting here, the root assumes the shape of a human palm. Okay, you see, this is mostly seen in case of orchids, where here also, the roots are in bunches. Okay, like that only. And here the shape of the, you can say, the roots are more or less like a palm, are like a palm and fingers. So that is why the name is given palmate roots. Okay, then next is nodulose roots. Nodulose roots. Such kind of roots are found in mango ginger, which is botanically called as Curcuma amada. Curcuma amada. What happens here? Here, the roots get swollen. They store reserve food, only at the tip. I mean, only the tip gets swollen and not the entire roots. So this is what? These are your nodulose roots. Okay. Then comes your next. It is the moniliform roots. Okay. So the fifth one is moniliform. Moniliform root. What happened in moniliform roots? Here, the root is, alternately swollen and then constricted, alternately swollen, then constricted like this. And it gives the appearance of a beaded appearance. So this is called as moniliform root, and it is seen in Mamodica. Okay, and also in some grasses. Okay, so this is the another form, and then we have got the next category. It is called as annulated root. So this annulated root is a kind of root where the root assumes the shape of, small disc, or you can see the pile of coins which are placed one over the other. So this is the appearance of an annulated root. Okay, example is seen in case of the plant which is called as Ipica. Okay, so this is the modification of taproot for storage. Okay, now besides, the taproot is also modified for the purpose of giving additional support. Okay, so the very first, the common example that we see is of prop roots. Prop roots, you must have studied in your lower classes about prop roots. Prop roots are the roots which are found in case of banyan tree. Banyan tree, okay. So here we will be dealing with the second category. First was for the storage, and another it is for additional support. Okay, additional support. At times, the adventitious root gives additional support. Okay, the very first category here is prop roots. Okay, so the prop roots, as I said, are found in the plant called as Ficus bengalensis. Okay, Ficus bengalensis. What happens here? That here, that the horizontal branches of the plant, what they do, they, send these adventitious roots downwards. So these prop roots, they hang downward from the horizontal branches of the tree. Initially, the branches are hygroscopic in nature. Hygroscopic means they absorb water from the surroundings and the root becomes red in color. Okay. And when the moment they get the contact with the soil, when they touch the soil, they get firmly attached to it. And these roots actually become what? They become the pillar of the plant. So the term, one more term is given to them. It is called as, they are also called as pillar roots because they give additional support to the plant. Okay. Such plant is seen in Kolkata, in Howara, the oldest, banyan tree. It is about 200 years old, and the plant has got nearly, not exactly, nearly 2,000, these prop roots. Okay. And the one important thing is, for example, this was the main trunk. In these plants, even if the main trunk dies, as in case of this plant, which is 200 years old, the main trunk died since 1925. But still the plant is surviving. How? Because these prop roots are actually giving that, that strength, that they're anchoring the plant firmly to the soil, and they're also absorptive in nature. So they are doing that function. So that is why the plant is able to survive for so many years. Okay. So this is your crop roots. Okay. Then next category of the adventitious root which give additional support are the stilted roots. Okay. So what happens in case of stilted root? Stilted roots are not as tall, are not as thick as the prop roots, but yes, these are the small, thicker roots which arise obliquely from the lower nodes of the stem, like this. And when the they get attached to the soil, they actually give the strength to the plant. It is same in the case of maize, okay, sugarcane, as we see in case of tent, that oblique. So these roots, they arise obliquely. In case of maize and sugarcane, they arise as whorls. In whorls they arise, okay? Whereas if we see pandanus, a plant, here the plant, since it cannot stand that, erect from the lower nodes, they arise like, pillar-like stilt roots, which helps the plant to, to uphold, which makes the plant to stand erect. So these are the straight roots, which again give additional support to the plant. Now, third category is our clinging roots, or you say climbing roots. Okay, we are dealing with the second part of modification of adventitious root, which are giving additional support. First being prop roots, second stilt roots, and the third one is your climbing roots. As the name is suggesting, these climbing roots are the roots which are found in the plants which cannot stand erect. So these are mostly found in case of climbers. Okay, so these climbers need some support to stand. Okay, for example, in case of piper beetle, we find such climbing root. At times, such plant, they form some claws-like structure. At times, they secrete some adhesive structure, like in ivy, they secrete some adhesive structure so that they may cling to the plant. So they are also called as clinging roots. Clinging roots. Okay. So these are the modification of adventitious root for additional support. So besides these, the adventitious root, does many vital functions. There are so many modifications with adventitious root, which you will be studying very soon. And this is the third category where the adventitious root will be performing certain vital functions. Okay. So third category is adventitious root performing some vital function. Okay. First being your assimilatory root. Assimilatory roots. So as the name is suggesting that these are the roots which are green in color, and definitely they are assimilating. That means they are undergoing photosynthesis. Okay. So as they are doing photosynthesis, they are making food, so they are green in color. Such kind of assimilatory root you find in case of Tinospora. Tinospora is a plant. Its genus is Cordifolia. Tinospora cordifolia, commonly called as Giloe, which we were heavily dependent on Giloe during our COVID times. Okay, so this is the same plant. Here in this plant, you find that the roots are green in color. Okay, similarly, in one more plant, which is called as Trappa natans, vernacularly it is called as Singhara. So in Singhara, which we use during Navratras, here also the roots are assimilatory in nature. Okay. The next category of adventitious root performing vital functions is of pastoral roots. Okay. Pastoral roots, also known as parasitic roots. Okay. So pastoral roots are the roots which we find in case of our parasite. Yes, even the plants are parasite, as you know. So in category, for example, in case of Cuscuta, which is a total parasite, here what happens then, the roots, they go in the they go up to the xylem and phloem of the plant. So such roots are definitely not green in color. They are not doing their usual function. Rather, what they are doing, they are absorbing food and water from the host plant. Definitely, it is causing some harm to the host plant. That is why they are called as parasitic roots. Okay. So in case of Cuscuta, the plant is total parasite. So the roots are making entry up to the xylem and phloem. Whereas in case of viscum, which is a partial parasite, here the pastoral roots extend only up to xylem. Okay, this is the second category of modification of adventitious roots. Then third is reproductive roots. Okay, so as the name is suggesting, roots, the main function of roots is not, it doesn't help in reproducing. Okay, but at times you see the roots, they help in reproduction also. For example, in sweet potato, as I discussed earlier also, here what happens, as I revealed, that here in case of sweet potato, which is a tuber, the root is tuber. In those tuber, at times you also find buds, and when these buds, they are separated from the plant, it gives rise to a new plant. This is the category called as your reproductive roots. Okay. Then next, moving ahead, we have got another category. The fourth one is called as contractile roots. Contractile roots. Such kind of roots are seen in those plants which have got underground stem as well. So what happens? These roots have got the property of contracting and swelling as per need. What happens that these roots, they try to keep the shoot at a proper place. So as per need, either they swell or they contract. Okay. So these roots are called as contractile roots. Example, it is seen in crocus, alcacer, and canna. Okay. This was the fourth Then fifth is your leaf roots. Leaf roots. Okay. So as the name is suggesting, at times what happens, as you see in case of Salvinia, it's an aquatic plant. Here what happens that of the three leaves, the two leaves, they remain as such, but the third leaf from the nodes, it gets bisected and adaptive roots. Sorry, these are called as leaf root. Okay. Then comes your sixth one, and it is called as your root thorns. Okay, root thorns. As the name is depicting, in root thorns, what happens? The root gets modified to become thorn as per the need of the plant. Everything that happens in nature is because of some need. So in case of, you see potholes. In case of potholes, what happens? The adventitious root, it becomes thorn-like, and it is called as your root thorn. Okay. Then is your floating root. Okay. Floating roots, as the name is suggesting, that here what happens, as in case of Jassia, what happens that some of the roots, they do their usual function. The Jassia is an aquatic plant, let me tell you. Here, what happens that some of the roots, they are doing their normal function, but some of the roots are modified to become inflated like structure, like balloon-like structure, and they store, oxygen, and they help in buoyancy. Okay, so these are the different kind of roots that we find in case of adventitious root. One more root that we find is mycorrhizal roots. So mycorrhizal roots, as you see in case of, what is mycorrhiza? It is an association of fungus with the roots of higher plants. So here the roots are very much specialized. Okay, because and they show the function of that mutualism. Here the roots are absorbing nutrients for the plant, and such roots are called as mycorrhizal roots. So this is all about the modifications of root. Let me recapitulate what we did. First, we did about the parts, the types of roots. So basically, two type of roots were there: taproot and adventitious root. In case of taproot, the root arises from any other portion. The root arises from the radical part. Okay, sorry, it arises from the radical part. Whereas in case of adventitious root system, the root arises from any other part of the plant other than radical, maybe from the stem, from the leaf cutting, from the root cuttings. Okay. And then what we did about the modifications of taproot system and modification of adventitious root system. Modifications of taproot system, the first category, where the root was modified for the purpose of storage. Okay, there were various categories. Then we had done that, respiratory roots, and the third one was nodulated roots. Okay, and then we shifted to adventitious root system. In adventitious root system also, we studied main three categories. The first one was adventitious root, which are modified for the purpose of storage, wherein we studied many different categories. Okay, and then we studied second part, adventitious roots, which were modified for giving strength, additional support to the plant. Here also we studied many categories. And the last, wherein we studied adventitious roots performing many vital functions. That is all for today. Thank you so much.